Welcome to Season 2, Episode 5 of Some Kind of Fun. Tonight, we've got clips from Monica LaPlante, Christy Costello, the Shackletons, and any other band Paul wants to listen to. We're going to have interviews with Brad Zeller and Ann Tracy, and we're going to talk about food. Lots of food. But before then, let's talk about our party. Lots of our party on January 28th.
January?
It's going to be cold.
June 28th. Before then, let's talk about our party on June 28th at Palmer's, outside on the patio, where it probably won't snow.
Not in June. Not on June 28th it won't snow.
Thanks a lot, carbon dioxide.
That's right.
Exactly. Well, it could snow. Never mind.
Why?
Why are you bringing up the day after?
Don't tempt fate, Paul.
So our party will not be post-apocalyptic, but it will have the silent treatment.
It will.
And the Silver Teens. And
The Goo Goo Mucks.
The Goo Goo Mucks. And Cindy Lawson. And a whiskey, rock, and or roll club.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, well, we have all
that'll
of
What
be
date
good.
is this happening in January?
No,
it's
it's in
in
June.
Oh, June. What?
So it won't snow.
Okay.
I was confused by
Okay.
the J dates.
And it won't be
Yeah.
post-apocalyptic.
No.
Okay.
That we know of.
That's right. That the Sunday afterward could be considered post-apocalyptic, but we'll see.
It's far too often after Palmer's.
Speaking of shows that are coming up in June 28th,
Yes.
what shows have you seen recently that you liked? Paul, you get to go first.
Well, there's one that goes without saying that I hope my friend Claire is going to talk about. But the night after that show, I went down to Midwest Music Fest and got to see Christy Costello, my boys, the Shackletons. Again, not actually my boys. Monica LaPlante, and the raw, insane power of Al Sparhawk and the Black Eyed Snakes. And it was about as much fun as you could have.
Wow.
More fun than you could shake a stick at.
That's right.
I was shaking a stick, so it was probably as fun as I could shake a stick at.
They let you do that in Winona now?
No.
Okay. Claire, how about you?
Gosh, I can't think of anything.
Really?
I mean, I'm going to guess that everybody would agree with me that whoever saw Ultrabomb could have used a cigarette after their set. It was amazing. It was so fucking good. It was really good.
It was really good. The whole night.
It was Big Salt killed it.
Big Salt killed it. And this band, The Silent Treatment, played.
Not
and
familiar.
they were insanely good that night. So much fun.
I'm sure they were very adequate.
They ate their Wheaties beforehand.
They did. They did.
That's right.
And how about you, Pete?
Well, that was the show that I was going to talk about because you don't it's weird, Kevin, you know who here.
I can go. I'll just continue on, boys.
But it was a great show. I had a little bit too much birthday, but it wasn't actually my birthday. But you know what I mean.
Yes.
But it was a good time.
You even got a birthday this year. What are you talking about?
But that particular night was not my birthday.
As Craig Finn might say, you love the party favors but hate the party people.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I think our audience can crack that code.
I think they can.
All
I
right.
guess. If not, you can reach out to Pete with questions.
If not, it is legal now in the state of Minnesota.
Absolutely. Speaking of that show, we've got clips from Big Salt.
The Silent Treatment.
And Ultrabomb.
And after that, we have an interview with Brad Zeller.
Cat told me, and I believe her. And she told me, she whispered in my ears. Now cat told
Welcome back to Season 2, Episode 5, Some Kind of Fun. I'm joined by one of my favorite authors, Brad Zeller. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, great to have you. So, let's start at the beginning.
Yep.
Austin, Minnesota. Desire to become an author, journalist, or how did that all come about?
It's I tell this story all the time, but there was no other plan ever. So my mom had always, until, right up until she died, she would, everyone that would come to our house, she'd pull out this little book that we made in grade school where everybody did a little picture and said, I want to be whatever. And I said, I want to be an author.
Okay.
So I remember when I went to go to the guidance counselor in high school, and I stuck with that. That's what I want to do. And, it's one of those things, like if you say you want to be a musician, people say, well, that's not very realistic. So that when they started talking about like going to college, they're like, well, you mean journalist? You want to be a journalist? I'm like, no, I don't want to be a journalist. I want to write books.
Yeah.
And it was just, there was nobody who particularly encouraged me. My parents were super great people, but my dad owned a garage and was a mechanic and had a tire garage in a little town outside of Austin. And my parents didn't go to college. So when I graduated from high school, I made the stupid decision to not pursue college. So
Okay.
basically for, until I was 31 years old, I was like, yeah, I want to be an author, but I have no fucking idea how to do it. Like it really was, I should have listened. It wasn't realistic. Like I didn't have any, I didn't know how to do it. I didn't submit things. I wrote all the time,
Yeah.
but I worked a whole bunch of really miserable jobs. I worked in warehouses. I was working in a controlled data factory on North Washington, the graveyard shift, when I started to do a zine that I just made at Kinko's that was about work, blue collar work, because I grew up in a blue collar family, and I thought all these books I would read, I was always a just prodigious reader. Like there was never, in that era, in the 80s, it was all these people from MFA writing programs, and no one ever had like a job that I could recognize. And even if they had a job, it was just like a shorthand, like they're a lawyer or a professor, and they sat around all day in restaurants and places and talked about their neuroses. And it was like there was no work being done. There were no blue collar people. Mm-hmm. And I thought there's almost never anybody I can relate to or root for in any of these books. Mm-hmm. And it was really a source of frustration for me. And when I would meet real writers, they were always people I felt I couldn't relate to. I was always involved with my friends were all music people. I lived with musicians until I was much too old. And so I just thought, like, well, there's not this, it's like blue collar work doesn't get the respect that, from the culture that I saw it with a great deal of respect. All my aunts and uncles, and, they worked in steel mills and mechanics. So I didn't know what I was going to do about that, but the zine was about culture, music, and work. Shit jobs, like the people that have to work shit jobs, where's their voices?
Right.
So I started to do that, and it was just I was just doing it myself, and I would take them and I'd throw them at coffee shops and stuff. And around the same time, City Pages and the Utne Reader both wrote about my little zine.
Okay.
Jim Walsh, who, was an old friend from music, he actually wrote the first little thing about my zine for City Pages. And then City Pages asked me to do, start freelancing for them.
Okay.
So I started doing little freelance pieces for City Pages, and then I started doing bigger stories, and then they actually said, do you want to actually have a job, work for us? So I went to work as like a staff writer.
Yep.
Never had worked in an office. Everybody there was from Carleton College, and they were all much younger than me. I was 31 years old when I first had a byline. So it was a weird transition. Plus, I had always worked graveyard shift jobs, and I'm a nocturnal person. I usually work and read and do my stuff between midnight and 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
When I started working for City Pages, it was like, I don't, I need that. This is such a huge opportunity, but I can't go to an office and sit there at 9 in the morning.
Yeah.
But I had to. So about 3 or 4 months in, I would go sit there all day in my little cubicle and then my office, and I would just be like doing nothing. I'd wander around. I was the nuisance in the office. And then I'd go home and work all night. Everything I wrote for them, I wrote in the middle of the night.
Sure.
There's no reason I should have ever been in that office. So I finally, it was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to make this.
Yeah.
As a kid, I'd been diagnosed as hyperactive, and they gave me Ritalin. I didn't know what that meant or how it worked, but
Sure.
it did work. It's the only thing that made me functional. It was never explained. They didn't ever talk about things like ADD then. So when I went to my doctor and I said, I have to have this job. I cannot be functioning on a daylight schedule. And they gave me Adderall.
Okay.
And basically, it was like the miracle drug. I remember the first day I took it, I'm driving into the office and just lights went on in my head, and I could just pound away all day long.
Uh-huh.
And then that gave me all this bonus time. So I could do all my work at the office, and then I could go home and do my own stuff and work. I was always working on books. I've written like a zillion books that I've never showed anyone or published. Okay. And so I was going like 24/7. Then I was like, I'm so much energy. I became a correspondent for a magazine in New York while I was working at City Pages. Then I thought, well, I always wanted to open a bookstore. I'll open a bookstore. I'll do the build out on this big space in Linden Hills. And I'm just going 24/7. And I was doing so much and just gobbling the Adderall. And every time, I'd have a little check in with the doctor. I'd be like, well, it's not working as well. Well, let's just keep upping the dose.
Sure.
So then one day I was in the electric fetus and I had a grand mal seizure. And I went, they took me to the emergency room, and they basically took me off Adderall cold turkey. And it was like, that's it. This part of my life is over. I can't, I crashed so hard I couldn't, there's no way I could work in an office. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to walk away from benefits and a real job, and I'm going to be a real writer. So I got an opportunity to do this amazing project on the road with this photographer who just called me out of the blue. That opened doors outside of the Twin Cities, and had a story in the New York Times Magazine, and the project I was working on was in all these national and international magazines. And then I started getting calls from agents, and then it was like, well, what else do you have? And I got boxes full of stuff.
Uh-huh.
So the story of the novel, Till the Wheels Fall Off, there's a whole bunch of novels, tons of them, finished, unfinished. Yeah. So these agents got in touch with me. I agreed, okay, you can represent me, not understanding at all what that means.
Right.
And they then spent 6 months saying, well, when are you going to send us something? Mm-hmm. Keep waiting, good luck. Exactly. So I never submitted anything in my life anywhere.
Okay.
So finally they came, it's a husband and wife team. They literally came to my house, did an intervention, and they're like, okay, let's see, where is all this stuff you have? I think there's this notion in a certain community that it's like this mythical thing. What am I doing all the time? It's like that Tom Waits song. What is he doing in there? I have a little shed in my backyard. I go out there at midnight, and the lights are on, the music's blasting, and I'm working on stuff, but I don't show it to anyone. So well, supposedly you have all this work. Where is it? Well, I started hauling out these boxes of I write on a typewriter.
Okay.
I'm not a computer person. So they started going through these. Go, well, any of these things, what are you working on right now? It's this. And there's just this pile of papers I would type, and I'd turn it over, and there's this pile. It was like 750 pages. And I said, this is what I'm working on. Is it finished? No, it's not even a book. It's just typing. Well, can we take it? No, it's not. It's just what I'm doing. So they badgered me about that. And finally they came back and they said, how about I'll stay with you? The woman said, I'm 5 years old. And my husband will take it to the Kinko's over by McAllister and copy it. Uh-huh. And I was like, okay. So they took it. They called me a couple weeks later and said, can you finish this? I probably could. It's not even really started. It was like changing. It was all over. It was gigantic. It was typewritten. And they said, I said I could probably finish it.
Yeah.
So they took it and they shopped it around at some book thing in New York. And they came back and said, okay, we could get this published if you can finish it. And, it would have to be edited and you'd have to do So I met with this editor who was interested in it in New York. And he suggested, well, you'd have to cut at least half of it. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. And finish it. So I wrote the ending, which it probably feels this way if you've read the book. Like I wrote it in like, one burst. Like still thinking this is just something that's never going to happen. And then this editor and I worked on it for a few months, cutting it. And I tended to be just like, well, yeah, that's fine. I'm already was moved on. Once I finished that, I move on to something else.
Sure.
So I was like, yeah, we did all these cuts. We cut it more than half. Mainly he did, but we worked together, and I was just like, yeah, that's good. That's fine. You cut a lot of stuff I liked, a lot of characters. And he had an idea of what he wanted it to be, and I was just willing to be like, it's like bands that sign to a label. Like, go ahead, lead me around by the nose. Like, I want the book to be published. So that deal turned out to be like, you learn. I think there's a lot of parallels. Having have a lot of friends who've been, just destroyed by the record business, and they get hopeful and they do something, and then they find out they owe the label $1 million. It's like everything's recoupable. You get almost no. It's even worse. I tell all my music friends, it's even worse because there's not a performative aspect. I did like maybe 15 events for that book.
Sure.
I drove 4 hours for some of them. No one pays you to do that. You're just going to sell books for which you won't get a penny.
Right.
Like
Because the bookstore's getting
the
the
bookstores,
books.
the distributor, the publisher all get their money before you do. At the end of all that, after they recoup everything, maybe you get some royalties. At this point, I've done five legit books, not just photo stuff. I've never gotten any money for royalties.
Yeah.
So it's just like you go, well, why do I do this? Mm-hmm. Because it's all I know how to do, and it's what I actually do love to do it.
Yeah.
I don't love anything else about it, but that's all I really love to do, sit around and try to make shit up. From the time I actually wrote the book and finished the book, it ended up being like, 3.5, 4 years before it came out. And I was already thinking of, 20 other things.
So do you have anything coming up we should be aware of?
I'm always working. This is a crazy thing, but I mean, and I say this truly, it's like I don't think it'll ever see the light of day, but just because of the times we live in and because of where I live and what I see I'm very, I think the problems in this country are so vast, and I'm in a neighborhood that I'm actually grateful that I live right in the thick of like a lot of suffering, a lot of homeless people, a lot of drug addicts, a lot of mental illness issues, right off a freeway in Midway. So I walk my dog through homeless camps, and I talk and interact with these people every day of my life. I try to find ways to, help them, and I wish there was more I could do. I also wish there was more that we would do as a society.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I thought a book that I'd reread during the pandemic was The Grapes of Wrath, and I'm like, man, we are back there, and we've gone beyond that. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to rewrite The Grapes of Wrath in the 21st century with like inequality and homelessness. I mean, basically, we aren't dealing with the Great Depression, but we're dealing with something to me that's even more profound. It's shit that brought communities together, and people became survivors in this
Right.
everyday people. Whereas now, these people, so many of them that I talk to all the time, meet no stereotype of homeless people.
Right.
And it's like they just fell through the cracks.
Yep.
And so I'm trying to rewrite it chapter by chapter. If you know that book, there's sections that are
Yep.
just like sociology, where he's giving a scene of like desperate people in homeless camps, and then there's actual characters trying to navigate this world.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to do it with inequality, unaffordable housing, poor pay for jobs, lack of opportunity. So that's what I've been working on. It's a passion project, and a lot of my friends who I love live in places like, well, we don't see that where we live. It's there. Does that mean
Yeah.
it's not there? You don't have to look at it?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I'm trying to write something that will force people to look at these things, but I also don't think that's a very, I don't have much hope that it's ever going to be published or that it would ever do any good.
Well, I think it sounds like a brilliant idea.
I mean, it may.
I'm looking forward to reading it, so I'll come over. I'll come over and we can hang out in your shed, and I'll read your great library and run to Kinko's for you.
Sure. Good luck. No, I do think I feel like I'm going to do it just because it's something that I feel like I want to do, but it's a hard thing, and I go away from it for periods because it's exhausting.
Yeah.
And it feels it runs the risk of becoming too much of a polemic, which I never want to be that kind of a writer. I mean,
I understand you want the literary elements to shine through first, but obviously being polemicized is
I mean,
something society's done.
yeah. I mean, I agree. I think that's exactly it. Like I'm somebody who, when I look at stuff and listen to stuff and read books, I never want to feel like I'm being hit on the head with a jackhammer. And I'm guilty of it. That's what I'm ranting at, feeling so helpless that I just rant.
Yeah.
And I don't want it to be that. And I think what I love about The Grapes of Wrath is that it's a very humane book.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
well, thank you so much for coming and visiting with us, Brad. This was just wonderful.
that was painful.
Well, it wasn't for me.
I'm kidding. It's painless.
Wait, are you going to read now for us?
Yeah, all right, now read.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Al.
Appreciate it.
All right, and it's time for everybody's favorite segment, Monthly Topic. This one we're going to talk about food, which is best places to eat after the show. Claire.
I'm probably not like the best like reference on this because we live like out of the metro area. So like by the time typically shows are over, we're like, we still have to trek up 35, right? So our post show eats are typically like frozen pizza from Quick Trip. And so that's,
Quick Trip has a fine selection of both
it doesn't,
frozen
Paul. No,
pizzas as well as cheeseburgers.
Yeah.
You like a good cheeseburger.
I know, Claire.
Yeah, you know me. I'm all
know.
about the cheeseburgers.
They do not have a fine vegetarian section at Quick Trip, however.
They do not. They have like a garbage vegetarian section at Quick Trip, unless you, I don't.
Doritos are vegetarian.
I suppose
They
they are,
are.
as are Oreos.
Yeah. Coke is vegan, as I've been told many times.
Yep. Hitting all the good ones.
All the
Yeah.
good ones.
Yep.
I think that this is an interesting topic because coming out of the pandemic, the number of places that are open post-show is not what it used to be.
Yeah.
That is correct.
Yeah.
And there used to be so many good places that were open till 1, 2, 3, whatever, all night.
That's how Pizza Luce got its start.
Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah,
Oh.
being like the late night pizza place in downtown Minneapolis.
It used to be that so the kids and I went to go see pro wrestling in Treasure Island, and oh my God, did I forget how far away Treasure Island is? But we were all starving afterwards.
Sure.
And I think we left at probably 10:30, 11, and our options was it was Taco Bell
Yeah.
or Taco Bell, which has some vegetarian options.
They do.
It's fine. But after having not eaten Taco Bell for a while, I was like, wow, it feels like I ate a brick. This is
But
a
it was
terrible
a
way to end my day.
vegetarian brick.
It was definitely a vegetarian brick.
No animals were harmed in the making of this brick.
Up next, we got clips from Vegetarian Brick.
Oh my God, dibs!
Oh, I think we'll have to do a quick set at our party from Vegetarian Brick.
Oh my God. To make a band? What do you think, Paul?
I think I used to really, really enjoy several places that I won't be able to remember. Now I'm kind of stuck with the Taco Bell, the
Froggies.
which?
Froggies.
Ooh, frog. Yeah, that was. The Nicollet Diner still open 24 hours. They serve darn good pancakes. So I guess that's where I'd go if I was looking for sit down food. Otherwise, if I'm going to eat in the front seat of the car, I'm going to White Castle.
Same.
Also have vegetarian vegan options.
They
They
do?
do
They
an
do.
Impossible Burger.
They have
an Impossible Slider.
they have vegetarian sliders, and they have for a while at least they had black bean sliders,
Oh yeah.
which they're adequate. They're adequate.
The idea of a black bean slider.
You know what? Spare me, all right? It's fine. It's fine.
Save it. Save it. We've heard it all before.
I know. This is nothing I don't hear at home.
And we got clips coming up and a scintillating interview with Ann Tracy.
Welcome back. Our next interview is with Ann Tracy. Hey, Ann.
Hey, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm fine. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's good to have you here.
Yeah.
Let's jump right in and talk about mostly Minnesota music, which is like just this cool thing that you do with like this all faceted, like multifaceted. Let's talk about the radio first.
The radio.
Yeah.
So it's 2-hour radio program. Here's the funny thing. I can't tell you when it is because we're mid-semester. So it's on McAllister College, and we have to reapply every semester, but it's always on a weekend.
Okay.
And it's always 2 hours. We play all Minnesota music based on a theme, and we always have a guest.
Give me some examples of your themes.
Now I last summer, mad songs, angry songs, human rights songs. But
Yeah.
often we'll try to pick something that's kind of having to do, like songs about mom, songs about dad.
Sure.
It's because we've been doing it now for 5 or 6 years now. You run out of themes.
I can imagine.
Yeah, so-
you can start recycling though, right?
Yeah,
like
we
after
do
a while.
start recycle.
For a while.
One of my favorites is covers, having, in a best case scenario, Minnesota bands covering other Minnesota bands.
Oh,
But
cool.
we brought it
Yeah.
up. That's always, I always like that one.
Okay.
But otherwise, we try to keep it,
Yeah.
I think I wasted it. I did it on birth or death. I should have done death once and birth the next time.
You gotta like.
I
There's
know, I'm
plenty to go
smarter than
around.
that. I'm
or you could do
smarter
like
than that.
Birth and Death Volume 2.
Right.
2, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Cool. And so, okay, so what is the theory behind or the logic behind having to reapply every semester? Is that
I
just how
don't-
McAllister like does
It's
it?
just how
Or
they
is
do
it a
it.
college thing or like?
It's college radio.
Okay.
And then they are happy to have community people, especially during on the weekends.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So it gives
Okay.
the students a different time. But the first time I applied, what's funny is my daughter had a college radio show in Winnipeg.
Oh.
And she invited me to be on it, and I enjoyed it very much. And, and I do it with Heather Baker, and she had helped me pick out songs for that day. And then 2 weeks later, I'm home, and I won't say doom scrolling, but happy scrolling, because I was like, McAllister College is looking for DJs. And I live in the shadow of McAllister College. So I applied. I was like, I don't know if this is 1 in a million. I don't know if this is, please, could you do a whole week? But we got the radio show. And so then the next semester, I was like, I don't know if it's 1 in a million. I don't know. Now, although this time I say, I just assume we'll get it. Something bad will happen. But we've been doing it for years. And I think at this point, and we show up.
Okay.
I think that's our main. We show up.
Okay.
So
that's an
good.
important part, though. I mean,
It
it's
is
hard to
an
do if you
important
don't
part.
show up. I mean, yeah. Who's the craziest guest that you've had on?
Do you remember we had the Bad Man in?
Okay.
And I try not to do this, but I myself was a little hungover that show. We had for a while we were crazy town. We would have 2 guests in this 2-hour span. And the Bad Man comes in and Peter comes in and I'm like, oh my, you look like I feel.
Were you like, get the fuck out of here?
I was like, oh man.
Rude.
So, yeah. I was like,
Wow.
well, this will be a good vibe. This will be a good vibe. Usually people are really nice and gracious.
And don't like insult you?
No, not at all.
That's
no,
awesome.
no, I had said it to him. I was like, you look how I feel.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I did one show the day after I had kidney stone surgery, and I might have been a little. The big woo. Thankfully, they could roll with it. You know, they're like, well, we're done, whatever.
Was it like the zombie universe
Oh,
show?
I was just, I wasn't
hear
feeling the
ambient
pain.
music for like 2 hours.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm trying to think. What was fun when we had 2, I kind of liked having 2, but there'd sometimes be some crossover. Mm-hmm. And it was, we had Al Church on first, and then Eric Koskinen. And, Eric Koskinen likes things a certain way. In a good way, he's like, he has this, he's getting all set up, and Al says, well, maybe I could just stay and play with you. And it ended up being perfect. Perfect. But I thought, oh, this is okay. Yeah.
We're going to have some brain bleed
It was
here.
very fun. A very, very fun show. So
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's talk about the written piece. So you write about local shows.
Yeah.
You do the interviews, like the 5-question interviews. Whose idea was that? Like, or how did you come up with the whole 5 questions thing?
Because we only have so much real estate on the radio.
Okay.
Is what it during COVID, of course, the college campus shut down right away through COVID. So then we did a lot of interviews on Zoom. Mm-hmm. And when I say a lot, I think we did 200.
Holy buckets.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So you would do, and people would say, well, how many do you do a week? And I'm like, sometimes you do 1 and it's way too many. Because it's COVID. Sometimes you do 5 and you're like, oh, could we get a few more in here? Because we're
Sure.
somewhere. So people got used to, us being able to say yes. Well, suddenly when you've only got so many, you could only do 1 a week. So I thought, and I used to write for Twin City Daily Planet. I wrote for Riff Magazine. So I have a long time of doing those sort of things. But I thought, well, this would be a good way to get quick interviews. And I really enjoy doing them.
Okay.
In some ways, it's because they're just much more focused than a conversation.
Sure.
So you kind of, but those have been good to do.
Cool. How did you get into music journalism?
That's a really good question.
Just kind of.
I see a lot of music. There's just no question about that. I didn't see a lot of music when I had small children.
Sure.
And then I think I started getting back into it, and I don't remember who said. All right, I'll be honest. I had someone who made me mad, and I knew they always wanted to write about music, so I did it. Tell me you're Irish without telling me you're Irish.
It's like a spite career.
I think spite and revenge is my best motivator.
You know what? Hey, if you can accomplish it, then go for it.
Yeah. I mean, I write for a living otherwise, so it's but so it wasn't a large stretch, but
Cool.
Yeah.
How'd you team up with Heather?
Because when I did the show,
Was she also spiteful then, or was it like a tag
she
team?
might. I won't speak for her, but no. So she didn't have any background in doing any of this at all. I at least had written reviews for for 10 years probably, music reviews, and because she's the one who got excited when I was on my daughter's show in Winnipeg. So I thought, well, let's do it. And I would say you should do things that kind of scare you. Mm-hmm. We get there. We had to do a little lesson on how to work the board and everything else, but I just remember that first time thinking, what the fuck did I'm on the high dive. Now what? You know? So, yeah, it's just. But now when I listen to The Current and they have a moment of silence, I'm like, oh, thank God.
It's not just me.
It's not just me.
That happened, like when I'm listening to NPR, I'm like, oh, that's okay. I love that. I love that.
I know.
You're really people.
You just cut off the first 10 seconds of that song. Yes, I love you. I love you. Yeah,
my
yes.
people.
yeah. So that's.
Cool. So how long have you been doing this?
So I'm trying to think, it's probably been 10 or 15 years that I've been writing music reviews.
Okay.
And it was, I mean, as I said, it was a little bit of spite and revenge, but it was also kind of gave me, in my own mind, freedom to go see as much music as I wanted to because I was working.
I'm on the job here.
You know, my kids were quite, and I still will always enjoy a later show. But my kids were at a point where they didn't need a babysitter. Nobody wanted to play
Isn't that
Monopoly
great?
with mom.
That's such a
It's
great
the
part of
best.
life.
It's
Like you can microwave your own oatmeal.
Exactly. I just
Yes.
so nice. So I've been doing that, and then the radio show probably 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Can we talk a little bit about ERA?
ERA.
Yeah.
Equal Rights Amendment.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Equal Rights Amendment has been my week. The Minnesota legislature ends tonight at midnight. So the ERA Equal Rights Amendment passed in the Senate last year. Mm-hmm. It did not pass in the House. So we needed it to pass in the House this year. So I have been in the Capitol every day this week.
And we know that it's passed at a federal level.
No, it's not passed at the federal
Really?
level either.
Okay.
No.
I misread that then. Okay.
Yeah. Last year, we passed a bill to say we supported the federal
Gotcha.
ERA.
Okay.
So that's the
Maybe
that's
that's-
public.
okay.
So we want it in the state. And what it would do is it would get, and actually it's to get it on the ballot for 2026.
Yes.
It's to let Minnesotans vote for the Equal Rights Amendment, which would give equal rights to everybody.
Yeah.
But we have to have a lot of discussion about who everybody is and what those rights are.
Yeah, we have to acknowledge everybody.
Yes.
Which, you know,
A lot of people don't necessarily want to do that. So
Right.
saying earlier, nothing more painful than sitting through a live filibuster.
yeah.
So the GOP has been filibustering. It finally, now I got to get my timing straight because it finally made it through the House last night. After midnight. I was watching it till about 1 o'clock in the morning, and then so it passed. And right now it's in the Senate. And if we put my phone on, I have got the Senate on the background at all time.
Yeah.
They haven't taken it up yet. But I was there earlier today, and there was a lot of discussion about parliamentary procedure.
Oh my God.
So
So fast.
yeah, and it's just a different flavor of filibustering.
Yeah.
So I'm anxiously awaiting.
Yeah.
We remain hopeful.
And by the time this airs, we will know whether or not
Yeah.
it's passed and
Yeah.
whether or not we'll actually have it on our ballot. But yeah, fingers crossed.
Yes, thanks for asking.
But no, thank you for all your work on it.
Well-
It is hugely important.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I say is now we're I'm assuming it passes and hoping it passes. One of the big parts now that I have a little bully pulpit here is to say one is that so many people think the Equal Rights has passed, and so there's going to be a 2 year of educating people that it hasn't passed, and to try to get people out to vote for the ERA is tell everyone you know they should.
yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of it is just saying, yeah, no, we are not equal not in the Constitution. In
Right.
the state Constitution is a lot more difficult to change than.
Yeah.
Because as we're learning, they can take rights away.
Yep. They sure can, and they will.
Yeah.
They can.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for all your work on that. What shows are you looking forward to seeing? Coming
You know
up.
what's fun? I know I suspected that would be a question, and what's so funny is I should have a lot of Minnesota answers, but I am going to Las Vegas for punk rock bowling.
Oh my God!
Next weekend.
Oh, take me
Yes.
with you.
I know. I am going with my
That's so
friends
great.
Langan and Jenny, Girl at the Rock shows.
Yes.
Yeah, what could go wrong? What could go wrong than the three of us going? They're 20 years younger than I am. It's going to be fine.
You're fine. You just
fine.
got to hydrate. Just bring your Pedialyte. It'll be fine.
And she tells me there's a Midwestern, otherwise known as the Ginger Tent, for anybody who needs a lot more sunscreen, because apparently they go every year.
Yeah.
It's all
That's
outdoors.
brilliant.
Yeah. So I know I should have a
God.
good Minnesota answer, but
Show
that
me
is
the way to the
that's
next ginger tent.
I know that's that's what we'll be like. So yeah, that's
Cool. Oh my gosh, enjoy.
Thank you.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much. This is super fun.
Yes.
Sons and daughters, fun faced plan. They are gonna try, give it all back. Take it for granted, take it to the bank. Take me downtown, another plane. Give me up on money leg. Give it up on money leg. Got it all wrong, know that's late. Give it up on money leg.
Welcome back. It is everybody's favorite part of the show where we talk about upcoming shows, and we're going to begin with Claire.
All right. Slow Death has their 15th anniversary party at Palmer's on June 7th.
Wow, that'll be fun.
I know.
That'll be very fun. June 13th, my boys, the Shackletons, having their LP release show at the Green Room. Pull String and Creeping Charlie in support. The album will be released. Side 2, Track 3, little ditty called Front Row Paul. I think everyone should buy that album.
I agree. Everyone should buy any album where one of the songs is about you.
Thank you. I think that's a given, isn't it?
I think so. I will be looking forward to, throughout the month of June, Surly Gurley is doing their residency at Mortimer's for Pride. And on June 26th, they'll be playing with Menstrual Tramps and Crush Scene, and that'll be a great show.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
That's going to be a lot of fun.
And playing us out is Annie and the Bang Bang.
Springtime and all the flowers keep growing, but still lying in the grass till they say, "Shall come to my street, like the hole in the fence." Trees shine.